What's up, my soldiers? It's WildBlueYonder. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about being homesick in the military. Now, this is a topic of concern that I've heard of a lot from my subscribers, and it's a totally rational fear to have, or at least a concern to have. A lot of people in the military come from very small towns or very close-knit families, and so it might be very distressful for you to think about leaving your hometown for the first time, or detaching yourself from your family, joining the Air Force, moving halfway across the world, so that might be a very big concern for you. Even people who aren't in those situations can sometimes fear that they're going to be homesick. So I have a few hints for you guys, a few tips that I can hopefully share with you all, hopefully that can relax you a little bit on this topic. Speaking from personal experience, basically growing up in Washington DC, it was a very big city and I was always kind of independent as a child. Like, I didn't really have to depend on my mom that much to support me, to cook for me and clean for me. Basically, since I've been like 5 years old, I've been cooking and cleaning for myself. My mom brought home the groceries and food and she said, hey, you're gonna learn how to cook, you're gonna learn how to clean your clothes, you're gonna learn how to be your own person and be your own man. She wasn't going to be having that. So that's how things were in my household. I know people are raised differently. I know people have different lifestyles and different customs and courtesies in their own households, but in my household it was very disciplined, very strict, because that's just how things rolled. My mom and dad were very, very disciplined. And then to reinforce those values, I was also in JROTC in high school, so I was taught a lot about self-control, respect, discipline, independence. All that was just kind of built up in high school. So transitioning to the military, especially out of JROTC, was not a big deal for me. I pretty much ran out of the door, like, I gotta get into the Air Force, like, let's go, let's do it. So a lot of people are different though. Like, they're like, oh no, I don't know if I can do this. During week 1, during 0 week, you're gonna be stressed, you're gonna be missing home sometimes for some people, you're gonna be ripping and running, you're gonna be doing all these extra activities, you're gonna be in processing, you're gonna be getting yelled at, you're gonna be eating chow for the first time, people are gonna be constipated, so it's a lot of problems going on in first week. But week 1, which is really your second week of basic training, you're gonna get your first letter. Hopefully you'll get your first letter. It's kind of interesting to watch people open letters for the first time at BMT because there's two different reactions. Reaction 1 is that guy who opens up his letter and he starts to sniff it and he's like, oh, it smells like my girlfriend. 2 is kind of my situation where I open up my letters and I'm kind of reading them and I'm kind of like, you know what, things are pretty much the same at home. They're pretty much asking me how are things here. My life is the one that's changing. Everything at home is pretty much the same. That's one thing that I realized very early on, is that nothing changes at home. Your life is changing significantly. You're at BMT, you're getting yelled at for the first time, you're shooting guns, you're like diving over barricades. Not really, you're actually in class like all the time, but that's what they think that you're doing. So you have the reaction 1 people who are like really missing the girlfriend and constantly talk about their girlfriend and life back at home. And you have other people who are just like kind of indifferent about it. They're kind of just more focused on BMT. Their mind is at BMT. That's kind of me. I was more focused there. So after week 1, you have some people who become more homesick after reading the letters, but after a while you start to transition into FEST, SABC, which is like the training with the actual self-aid buddy care or foundation of exploration survival skills training, something like that. Basically learning how to like fire weapons, hold your weapons, stuff like that. You start to become more immersed in the BMT and you start to rely on your team members a little bit more. You start to rely on your flight members and you start to become more connected to them. So what happens is you start to detach yourself away from your family and start to become more connected to your BMT family. Like, you'll be in a shower full of like 30 other dudes and you're all singing the Air Force song, or you're singing like My Girl or something like that, and everybody's just kind of getting along, and you start to realize, like, I don't think I've ever even seen my brother and sister naked. Like, I hope I never do. And like, that's kind of weird to think that I was just in the shower. Like, I think I'm closer to these guys than I am to my family. I need to go and go into deep introspective thought now. There was a moment during graduation weekend which was very interesting to me. I was with my family and we were walking down the river walk when I passed another couple of my flight members, and I just had this moment where I was thinking, man, I'm not going to see you guys like ever again. Like, this is it. This is the end of basic training. It kind of felt like the end of high school when everybody's like taking off in separate directions, going to different colleges, and you're not going to see your friends ever again, and you just get sad. It felt kind of like that. But then I remembered, hey, I have a few more days with you guys. I'll see you guys tonight at the barracks. And it was kind of just nice to have that moment. But like, my family is like right here. Like, I'm not thinking about them. I'm thinking about my flight members. It's kind of weird how you start to become more connected to your flight members and how the Air Force as a whole becomes your new family, your new lifestyle, things like that. I think more people are excited about graduating BMT, moving on to tech school, starting their career in the Air Force, learning new things, exploring new places in the world, rather than being in the same place that they've been in for the past 20, 30 years of their life. If you happen to be like 30 years old, I would also say a lot more young people feel homesick than older people. Usually the older folks are like, whatever, like, you know, what homesickness, what home, you know, I'm just trying to join the Air Force. So then you transition into tech school, and guess what? Now you have your own money. You can spend your money on however you want. You can spend your time however you want. You can study when you want. You can go to sleep, wake up, exercise. You can do sports. You can join clubs, and you start to actually live your own life, and you start to become your own person, and you start to really, now you're making shots for yourself. You're making the calls for yourself. And that's another reason why I don't ever feel homesick, because when I was at home, when I was living in my mom's house, I lived by her rules. I was in the house when she wanted me to be in the house. I wasn't over people's houses too long because she didn't want me over there so long. So it's like, I feel like I'm, you know, like a kid at my mom's house. Why would I want to go back to that? Once you join the Air Force, hey, what time is it right now? 11 o'clock at night, and I'm making a video. If I was at home, you know, maybe not. Maybe I would have been keeping my mom up, and she would have told me to go to sleep. So it's not really like the best thing to be told to do when you're like 20 years old. Another really interesting thing about homesickness is going on leave. Now, the first opportunity that you get to go on leave, you're going to be probably really excited, probably thinking that things are going to be different, or really just missing home so much. The really interesting thing about going on leave for me was that when I walked into my house for the first time, the only one thing that surprised me was everyone's house has a certain smell, and like you walk into your house for the first time after like a year and a half, and you're like, oh yeah. It's kind of weird. Like, you walk into your room for the first time, you hit the switch without even thinking about it, and you're like, I haven't been in this room in like a year, but everything's about the same, you know. I forgot about that shirt over there. I'm gonna take that with me because that's an awesome shirt. Hey look, all my awards are still hanging up on the wall. Everything's pretty much the same way I left it, and it's kind of a nice feeling to like lay down in your bed for the first time, and it's just like, wow, this is really nice. Although there might be some people who return home to find that their room has been converted into a home office, or like a sauna, or like this new hot tub in your room now, so be cognizant of that. Just be ready to come home and find that your room is now a yoga studio. But after a day or two, after a couple days, you know, you're ready to go back. It's kind of weird. It's like, why do I miss the Air Force? Why do I miss wearing my uniform? Why do I miss work? Why do I miss aircraft? Why do I miss all these things that I shouldn't miss? Like, going home is nice, but just visiting, like, you'll start to realize, like, it was nice being home. It was nice, you know, having some home cooked meals, seeing my family members, you know, sleeping in my own bed that is way comfortable than the Air Force bed, because I got used to sleeping in that bed, and then I went home and I slept in my bed, and it felt like I sunk like 8 inches into my bed. But, you know, like, you just missed. At least in my opinion, at least in my experience, I miss my job. I miss being in the Air Force. I miss wearing my uniform. It's hard to explain, but your life just you just start to replace your family with the Air Force, and it's not a bad thing. It really isn't. You start to become your own person. You start to detach yourself away, and of course you still get to communicate with your family on a daily basis if you want to, but for the most part you are in the Air Force and you're doing your own thing, and that things at home are pretty much the same. Don't worry about it. Everything's gonna be okay. Just as a general tip that I give to almost anyone who has any anxiety about the Air Force, just keep in mind that hundreds of thousands of people have done it before you, and they've been okay. So don't be too concerned too much about the Air Force. Of course, you're always going to be anxious about a lot of things, but, you know, just remember that lots of people have done it before you. I've done it. Just keep in mind that, you know, if you are really missing your family that much, even after everything that I just said, you know, you can go on leave. You can go on leave and see your family. You can talk to them. We have Skype. We have FaceTime. You can do all these things with your family and still be in contact with them. You may not be there, but, you know, they can send you care packages. They can send you things. They can send you letters. If they want to send you letters, they can send you pictures. They can send you little things in the mail. They can send you gifts on Christmas. On top of that, you can go on leave. Whenever you get the opportunity to go on leave, I suggest you take it if you are really missing your family. So there's different ways around it. There's lots of different things that you can do, so that way you can still stay in contact with your family. Of course, you can call them. I still call my parents every week, so it's not really that you're that disconnected. Hopefully those tips helped. If you guys have any questions about being homesick in the military or anything else in the Air Force, check out my channel, comment down below. I'll answer those questions for you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Peace.